This week's scenario is Rally Point from the 2014 Steamroller packet. The scenario does not have the Killbox Artifice in effect. It consists of two zones. The friendly zone can be dominated for 1 CP. The enemy zone can be controlled for 1 CP or dominated for 2 CPs, and then the enemy objective can be destroyed for 1 CP. Victory conditions are assassination or 5 control points. The objectives are Defense 5, Armor 18, and 15 health boxes, and come with the Valor special rule. While this objective is not contested by enemy models, friendly faction solos within 4 inches of the model gain inspiration. While under the effects of inspiration, friendly faction units in this model's command range never flee and immediately rally. Hello everybody, Taodark here. This week I'm going to be playing my E-Borka list. Consists of double Axer rock and also has Wrong Eye and Snapjaw. I went with the Kriel warriors since I have Snowshroud, I can only bid on 1 unit. I'll target them. And then I have the Chronicler in the list for Hero's Tragedy for knockdown on the Kriel warriors, but also to provide concealment for the stone unit so that it doesn't get shot to pieces potentially. And then the Hero and the Sorcerer continued support for the Kriel warrior unit.
Alright, for today I decided to play with E-Xerxis, the Fury of Halaak, and I like running my casters with their selected beasts. So that's why you see Tiberion, a Cannoneer, well, the Tiberion because it's his, the Cannoneer because I like ranged, the Krea, the Ferox because I think they're fast enough to keep up, Beast Handlers because they're a staple, the Nihilators, well, because, well, they're Nihilators, they can do some stuff, Rhadeim because, well, he goes with the Ferox, the Willbreaker because, well, he can't, small range, and of course the Tinker because he is a battle engine.
For troll deployment, I won the roll-off to go first, and after my opponent sets down his pre-deploy large bases, I will go ahead into it. I chose first because I like the opportunity for E-Borka to put Fury into the stone early. I'm shifting back my dice because I kind of looked at the table and was like, wait a minute, I'm pretty far ahead to be going first. And then I realized I'm at 10, not at 7. So I had to adjust that real quickly. But I want to have Borka to be able to put Fury into the stone. As I mentioned with the list design, a lot of the list is basically wrapped around the fact that I have 1 unit. So there's the support staff for them. I adjunct the Sorcerer to the Kriel warriors. And then Fellcallers and Chroniclers and Stone and so forth. But the actual battle group was something that I've been kind of fine-tuning and playing with, and that is that I have Rock and Axer because Rock can provide Primal on Axers, and Battle Charge will allow them to still have Primal and when they Battle Charge. But also because Primal and Rush are friendly, not friendly faction, I can actually use those on Wrong Eye, so that I technically have 2 heavies on 2 different Fury batteries, which gives me a little bit more versatility to go full out.
Okay, without really knowing exactly what he was going to line up with, because my pre-deployment, I pre-deployed Xerxes more towards my zone, so I could at least hold my zone to keep him from scoring in it. And then the rest of it was just trying to hold my zone because he did put a lot of his heavy hitters towards my zone, and then the Ferox were hoping to go for his zone and also a flank around the corner. The Gobber Tinker was put in close to Xerxes because he's, he repairs them, so that's or heals them, however you want to put it. So that's why he was put there. And the Nihilators were put fairly central, mainly because that's where his infantry were, was towards the center of the board. So I was setting them up to counter what he had done, hoping that I could inflict some berserk damage.
Trolls turn 1. So at starting the game, there's a couple things to note with the deployment is that he has gone extremely heavy on the left-hand side with his heavies for playing a more defensive, trying to dominate his zone. He has the Ferox and he has the Nihilators, so he could potentially go for controlling efforts on my friendly zone. But with the fact that I have Wrong Eye and Snapjaw on that end, and an Axer to support Wrong Eye and Snapjaw to give Rush to Snapjaw should he need it for Pathfinder into the Woods, I felt fairly certain that it would be safe with devoting Wrong Eye and Snapjaw and maybe an Axer to protect my zone from being controlled and dominated, and then just using the rest of my force to push into his zone. And potentially drive for either an open-ended assassination on a large base, Xerxis, or to go in and start controlling points. A lot of the movements that are going around, I'm moving the Sorcerer over because as a solo, I can kind of park him on the backside of the zone and he'll never be able to dominate for one. I'm hoping to use that the forest in both zones as kind of like line of sight blockers, to protect my units so that things can't come through. Several times during this game, I forget that he actually has eyeless sight on a stick, and it does come to cost me heavily in following turns, but that was the original intent behind my movements, was use the forest to block line of sights and basically engage him when I'm ready to engage him. Between the Wrong Eye and Snapjaw and the Axer, I feel fairly certain that the Ferox won't be too much of an issue, but their ability to jump around can be irritating in many situations. So Bearka's just going forward. I'm playing him central because I still want to leave myself the option for going and dominating my zone should things turn horribly ugly. I actually have no real good plan for killing his objective. Potentially getting caber throwers up there or something like that to do some huge swings on the objective. But I have no real solid range in this list, so getting some range explosions on that objective to knock it out isn't really going to be an option. I'll have to go for it in melee. And then here I'm just advancing up Rock and my Axer so that I have some presence, a heavy presence in the zone besides just Bearka.
Alright, after he kind of was able to get to the table quite a ways, still troll speed, not too terribly scary, but still scary enough because, they always have those little weird movement shenanigans they can always do. So I start with the Nihilators, and I run them up as far as I can, kind of working as a screen, using some of the terrain to a benefit, but not putting everybody up in the front, because I really don't want everybody to get tied up and or die on the first turn, or second turn as it were. So move them all up. I have them run to gain to get what they need to go to. The Tinker, I pretty much hide him up behind the objective. I figure it's a good spot. It's central. It'll be easy for him to get wherever Xerxis is if Xerxis should get damaged. Now, one thing I didn't mention in my list is that the Cannoneer is the bonded beast. Because -2 strength when he gets in there is, in my opinion, pretty decent. Because Xerxis does count as a cav model, I elected to do a ride-by attack, and that is why I'm advancing so cautiously like that. He did, of course, also cast mobility and ignite on the Ferox before moving. And that's why you saw that one Ferox really close to my line with the gap that the Nihilators were filling in. Now the Ferox activate and they run. Now with Wrong Eye and Snapjaw over there, I know they get the +2 speed or +2 movement against living models, so I did not want to get them too close to them until I figured out where he was going to bring them. My hope was that he was going to bring them to the tree side, the side of the trees where the Ferox were, so I could actually just isolate them and hopefully take them out. But I didn't know, so I had to play it safe. Then I activate the Cannoneer. He advances. He goes to shoot, but falls short. So the scatter. Of course, now we're digging around for an AoE. So that's where it goes, and it scatters to 2-3 inches. And so it just clips to 1. So I end up boosting because might as well. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything to boost. We'll have the beast handlers up there to take it out anyways. Or take it off anyways, hopefully. Hopefully take it off. Now the Krea activates, she comes up. She does 2 for her Animus of Paralytic Aura, which is all range attacks are, I get +2 defense and +2 armor against range attacks. I know he doesn't have a lot of ranged, but it's one of those things that, you know, you kind of get into the habit of doing it. I activate Redeem. I have him run forward with his natural Pathfinder. I had no issues putting him into the trees. My biggest concern was trying to make sure that I was not within 3 inches of the tree edge where Rock was, because he was, if he gets in there, he's going to mess something up. So now Tiberion activates, and he ends up running to tow the zone. And of course the beast handlers, you know, they advanced. Now the Extoller advances. He does Inkler attack, because, you know, who doesn't like 2 shots? I already know it's going to be short, so we declare which way it's going to go, move it, it misses completely, and that's my turn.
Troll's turn 2. So I wanted to clarify what Raheem's defense and armor is, because I'm looking at this situation and I'm almost curious if I can't get Rock to kill or dismount Raheem. There's no way I'm going to be able to charge him. He's more than 3 inches into that wood, so I have no clear charge to him. But since Rock has a spray on him, it's POW 14. Statistically, I should be able to do anywhere from 7 to 8 points of damage. On a good spike to get 10, I might be able to dismount him, which causes him to lose his Pathfinder. It causes him to lose his ability to jump around. Because I'm concerned about Raheem getting over and just going to town on my stone unit, and causing my armor bubble to shrink even further. So a little bit of my thoughts is going into how can I deal with Raheem. If I move Rock up in order to spray on Raheem, he will have the same situation where Rock is 3 inches deeper into the woods and won't be able to see. But it will have to see how that plays out in the following turns. In this situation, all I'm doing is I'm putting up Here's Tragedy on the Kriel warriors, and I'm running them up into the zone and basically trying to get it set up so that if I'm going to run a Kriel warrior up and then use a caber thrower to charge a Kriel warrior that ran up and potentially launch them towards something to do damage or to knock things down. And that's what I'm doing right here, is I'm just setting up the Kriel warriors for potential knockdowns for the cabers that follow behind. Here I'm finagling. The bridge is sloped just right that it's difficult to actually get things in the exact place that we want, or that I want them at. But I'm just advancing things up and clearing out space for the cabers to come in. So here I go for, and I'm basically declaring a charge from the caber to the warrior with the hope of that if he comes in there, I can throw some early damage on to Xerxis and keep him honest. And then after I measure it, simple math should have taught me that a running Kriel warrior will outpace a charging Kriel warrior, even with reach. So unfortunately, my cabers are standing out in the open, and I've got Kriel warriors in the front. Thankfully, I do have Charge of the Trolls on them, so any of the ones that ran out super front that killed by warrior models will get knocked over. Now I'm activating the Wrong Eye Snapjaw and submerging them, but I'm positioning them, I'm skirting them inside the forest. They have warriors in front of them, so they're not going to get charged from any of the Annihilators, but I'm putting them into the forest so that way the Ferox don't have any sort of charging advantage. They may be able to move and jump and to engage Wrong Eye, but they're not, at least not going to get a charge. So here we go with the advance for Rock. Trying to get him set up so that I can actually see, or see if I can actually see him in the woods. And unfortunately I don't. He's just barely outside of the 3 inches to be able to see him. It was probably a bad gamut on my part, to be honest. You know, I'm hoping for a hard spike in order to dismount Rhadeim. And honestly, if you're ever into a situation where you're looking for a hard spike in order to do something, it usually is a bad plan, because you're preying on dice, and that's never good. So just advancing up the Chroniclers, putting Here's Tragedy up on the Trolls, advancing up the Stone to get the aura out there, because that was me showing my feat coin, which was me reminding myself that I should have feated last turn, and I didn't, because I'm dumb. And just advancing the stones up to keep them in formation. And that's my turn.
Alright, seeing how Rock fell short of getting to Rhadeim, it hopefully opened up some avenues for me to hopefully get the upper hand in this game. The hope is that now that Rock is so far forward, I can capitalize on it and take out one of his heavy hitters. If I can take out Rock being one of his heaviest hitters, that should mean that either Tiberion or the Cannoneer will be safer. So to start my turn, I end up activating I upkeep Ignite, I activate the Ferox, they advance forward. With him bringing Wrong Eye and Snapjaw to the inside of the terrain, to the tree, it did help me out. It meant that I knew they weren't going to come after me, which left me the ability to hopefully, you know, get around the outside there a little bit further before I had to take the Ferox and engage them. Now the Annihilators, I'm activating them. I am not having them charge. I'm actually having them advance, well, charge / run. Mostly I'm just trying to get them farther enough forward. I think I'm actually running them. I'm running them forward just to get to engage most of his models so he doesn't get a charge bonus on me. And because he had the knockdown, if I kill somebody I get knocked down, and all this other bad stuff for me. So not what I wanted. So that's why they pretty much ran forward to engage, just to lock up. It's probably it was just more of a defensive measure to try to defend, keep them alive as long as possible, and work him as a tar pit, I guess, for against him. You know, single wound infantry is not a good, not very good at that. But what can I say? Then the Tinker ended up trying to shoot, ended up missing. The Cannoneer activated, he shot. And ended up killing the one. And I'm boosting the damage against the other one, but he made his tough check. So now he's knocked down. I did have the Extoller come up, but Puppet Strings, Puppet Master on the Cannoneer, but my rolls hit, my rolls damaged. Not much else I could do. So now I activate Xerxis. He dropped a 2 for mobility. I then declared a ride-by attack. I advanced to where I was within half an inch of the knockdown troll and within reach of the other. So I hit, and he toughed, and then I ended up rolling against the other guy who didn't tough, and then ended up killing off 2 guys. And now I'm going to hopefully move back to safety because Having Berka that close to me is not where I want my caster to be, only sitting on 2 transfers. Yes, he'd probably have to trample through my guys, but I don't see that as being an issue for him because, well, it's Berka. It's what he does. So, of course, I run back because there's no kill box this one, so I'm allowed to move back as far as I need to, which right now means that I'm just going to run away. I now activate the Krea. She puts up her paralytic aura. Activate the Extoller. The Extoller comes over and gives Tiberion Eyeless Sight, which right now means that the forest, I pretty much ignore the forest, and with mobility up I get Pathfinder. So the Beast Hunters activate, they condition the Krea, they condition the Cannoneer, and then they enrage Tiberion, because I need Tiberion to go kill something. So we mark it where he's going to end up at, because I need to make sure I know where he's going to end. And, you know, nice thing about proxy bases, you can place them where they need to be so everything's nice and clear and everybody's out in the open. And the swing begins. And he is out of the stone range, unfortunately for rock, so that means all my attacks are going to be really damaging, because an enraged Tiberion is not a happy person. So just right now I'm just going through, just making my swings to, you know, buying and going until I kill him. Now the one fortunate thing for me is the fact that I was able to charge in there and position Tiberion in such a fashion that he was not going to give his back to anybody in the troll army. So there would be no backstrike bonuses for him. I then put up Tiberion's Animus of a bump, hoping that if anybody were to come in at him, that I would be able to you know, push them away before they could do too much damage. And then Rhadeim activates and pretty much moves forward to block people in, because that's what I needed him to do. I needed him to block people.
Troll's turn 3. I lost Rock last turn, which is horrible. I've now removed Primal from my repertoire of Animais that I can use and spells that I can use. Had I popped Feet like I should have last turn, I potentially wouldn't have lost Rock, and maybe even gotten myself either a Frozen Tibbers, or most likely what would actually have happened is he wouldn't have engaged Tibbers up that far. With Tibbers being up gauged, there's a bit of vengeance that the Rimeshaw needs to be doing, and hopefully I can get Tibbers off the table with Berka. But so a couple other things I'm noticing is that the Ferox have swung out far to my left-hand side, and it is becoming very apparent to me that he is not going to use the Ferox to try and control the zone. He is going to use the Ferox to get in my back line and kill my support staff, which is probably the better thing to do. He's going to use the Nihilators to control the zone, so much so that he's left one guy sitting in the back outside the woods, unengaged, to make sure that the zone is never able to be dominated. Not that Berka's anywhere near. I've basically abandoned. I've kind of shown my hands and said, I'm not going for that zone. I'm just going to contest. So there's no real pressure in my zone. Matter of fact, it's almost to a point where I've got a heavy sitting over there who's not going to be able to really contribute to the game because of it. I've probably shown my hand too early. Not feeding last turn definitely puts me on a back foot. And then losing Rock, just I spent a couple minutes at the beginning of this turn just going, what the hell am I going to do? So I activate Wrong Eye. I've got several of the... He didn't actually attack any of the Kriel warriors, but several of the warriors are engaged. And I'm almost hoping that I might be able to put Wrong Eye up and use his reach attacks to free up Kriel warriors so that the Kriel warriors could in turn charge the Nihilators outside or on the far end of the forest of the zone. You know, maybe there's a play involved where I clear out my zone and I just go into defensive. I'm going to dominate and just continually shove warriors into the zone to contest. I'm really not in a place to do that, but it's, I guess, an option for me. But Wrong Eye goes in, and he does manage to kill 2, but not really do much. Snapjaw goes in. Wrong Eye positions himself further up in the woods. He wasn't charging anything. He had no intentions. All I was really doing was trying to position him in the best place where he's not going to be attacked by the Ferox, because I can see that as being a prime target for the Ferox to go after Wrong Eye and take Snapjaw off the table. So he goes in, he uses the woods. I thought about, as you saw earlier, I was thinking about moving him back behind the Axer, but that gives him, there's a straight charge from one of the Ferox if I go there, so I went for the woods. I'm not really in a good place right now. I'm running the Runebearer away, so that way they're not going to take out my decreased spell capacity. I moved the Axer up to do, again, similar as Snapjaw, try and use his reach to free up the Kriel warriors in order to get after that one that's on the far end of the zone, to potentially open up a domination option for Borka. But I have one that is still engaging the front Kriel warrior, and I can't get past him because of his reach, and Kriel warriors can't take a free strike from them, so that Annihilator in the back of the zone is going to live for another day. Here the Axer is just trying to go after Rhadeim. Not having Primal is making it extremely difficult to actually dismount Rhadeim. Axer falls off. Oops. I put Skorne shoulder pads on the Axers because I always felt like the Axer model, the new plastic Axer model, looks like an Impaler model armor-wise, and yet they still have a higher armor value than Impalers. So I got some plastic Skorne shoulder pads and dropped them on there just to, as a visual reminder to my opponent of, these guys have more armor than the Impalers. Please don't assume that. Here I'm just going to activate the Kriel warriors. Since he didn't charge me last turn, I almost feel obliged to not return the favor and charge his models and potentially remove some Nihilators from the table. I will most likely be putting up Hero's Tragedy on the Kriel warriors again. To cause knockdown. It puts my opponent into a situation where he has to choose, do I deal with Kriel warriors that are still alive and attacking me next turn, or do I attack them and then get knocked down, and then other elements of the army will come in and deal with me. It's almost a lose-lose situation for a melee-based unit. Yay, double ones. Activating the stone, putting up the aura, and then shifting them over. I'm actually hoping that if I shift them up and I expose the objective, he'll take the one control point for the objective and leave my stones alone. But and again with the Fell Caller, I'm activating. Actually, I won the Fell Caller over and put Warcry on E-Borka, so that way with the Heavy Cav and Warcry, I almost have no need to boost, and I basically almost hit on. Actually, I think I hit on anything but double ones against him. He asked us for a proxy base on E-Borka. Which, I mean, he's got huge tusks and things, and I've got huge bear claws and everything, so I go in for a charge, and I want to go for max range because I don't want to commit myself to the zone, which is flawed because I completely forgot he has bump on him. Here I'm advancing E-Borka past Rhadeim, triggering a free strike. I give him the option to take it. He does take it, and when he hits it, it doesn't do any damage, but because he hit me under my feet turn, he is frozen. So I go in and I make my attack and on him. As I mentioned, it's really hard for me not to actually hit him. And then I drop some damage into him and bump triggers. Well, crud. He gets bumped back. He's not engaged anymore, not even in reach. So I activate my Sorcerer to run up and play defensive block. So I don't have a Tibbers charging me next turn.
Okay, so with taking the free strike and getting frozen for Redeem, and having bump able to actually push back E-Borka meant that Tiberion survived for now. But that also meant that there was too much fear on the table for Xerxis to pull back. So now we got to see if he's going to end up frenzying. Now, one of the things we're asking about is the under E-Borka's feet, how that all works out, and who does this, that, and the other for for freezing and whatnot, and also if there's a potential for me to get my caster actually all the way in on E-Borka before he can, if I have the distance. I feel it's better safe than sorry. So I do pass the threshold check with Tiberion. I then end up boosting my attack because of crit slam, and I end up slamming him back into E-Borka, and the damage was enough to kill the Sorcerer. And I put bump back up. Now that the Sorcerer is gone, I have no fears of the bump being taken off, except for with somebody come up and hitting me. Unfortunately, did not roll high enough to do any damage to E-Borka with the slam, so I just have to hope that the rest of my plan works out. I did upkeep Ignite again because they're back there, might as well. And now it's a dilemma because it is turn 3, so this is usually when the fray really starts to get thick. My Nihilators have been able to do next to nothing this entire game except for hold. Under E-Borka's feet, he does give everybody stealth. So activate the Extoller. The Extoller then activates, puts Eyeless Sight on Xerxis. The Willbreaker then activates, comes over, puts Puppet Master on Xerxis. I'm just going to load him up because I hopefully have a plan to not die this turn. But first of all, I'm going to activate the other side of the Nihilators. They are actually going to receive a charge order because I can hit the gator, and I don't believe he ended up putting up the if you hit me you're going to, you know, be knocked down ability this turn. Don't quite remember, but I figured I'd take it anyways. So the one guy forfeits his movement, his action and move. He makes his tough check, he gets knocked back down, the other guy comes around the corner. All because I need to try to clear a lane to Borka. Didn't quite think I was going to be able to make it, because it is quite the distance to try to charge. And with him having transfers and his light war beast still in the game, made it tough. So I was going with other plans, which was to try to survive this turn, to survive his feet turn, and hopefully, you know, maybe start scoring some scenario points. And yeah, that was pretty much what I was looking at for right now. So I come around to do the Ferox. They do standard advance. Once again, they do have Pathfinder, so standard advance and then leap. So that way I can come in and hopefully do some damage on the, you know, a Wrong Eye and Snapjaw. And also to try to come in and tie up some of his support staff in the back. I'm not guaranteeing that I'm going to get too much of his support staff, but I'm going to give it a try. Now here's where the dice rolls come through to go and start rolling on the gators. Unfortunately, between the Nihilators doing very minimal damage and the Ferox doing their thing, you know, it's not making it for a very effective time to kill off the heavy gator. Well, the minion group there. So I'm just trying to do as many attacks as I possibly can into the boss man. Hopefully I can do enough to take him out of the game. Thankfully, with Ignite up and the fact that they can all see Redeem, means they have a +2 to hit because they can see Redeem, and they get +2 to damage because of Ignite. So, you know, then the other cats, they end up, you know, the other Ferox end up doing, you know, swing on different people they can swing on. I do believe I actually have one of the minion caster is actually on fire. So now I activate my caster, Xerxis. He advances. I do 2 for Stranglehold, and I boost the to hit. He is in range under Berka's feet. Berka's feet does allow for stealth, and that's why I need the eyeless. Stranglehold does mean that I have to damage. So I do end up inflicting at least a couple points of damage, which he does transfer, but because he did inflict he did receive the damage, he still gets Stranglehold. And I once again did declare a ride by, and so I backed up because most of my beasts and whatnot are in the. Well, there goes my diminish in case he decided to bring somebody up against me, or bring somebody forward to try to come hit my caster. I then activate the Cannoneer. Figure if everybody has stealth, yeah, I figure out what can he do. Now that the Extoller has given either sight to Xerxis, so he does nothing. I advance with the Krea. She does her paralytic aura. Then I activate with the beast handlers. They come forward, and they're going to condition just the one off because I've spent everything on Xerxis. Xerxis is bear.
Trolls, turn 4. We're in a weird situation here. The Tiberius hasn't managed to kill E-Borka, which is good. I seem to have a heavier presence in my zone, and I have lost Rock, I have lost Snapjaw, so all of my heavies are now off the table. The only heavy I have on the table is E-Borka. So in a lot of ways, I feel like E-Borka is a heavy, due to the power of his weapon, the ability that he can buy attacks and boost, and his armor is, I mean, he's of heavy caliber. So I almost feel like I'm to a point where I need to be pulling back and potentially getting into my zone, and allowing my seeing if I can't just start winning through controls, if I can gain domination points faster than he can, throw a solo in to contest his zone on a turn or two, and just use some quick activations to go through the army and potentially win on domination point. That being said, there's Ferox that in the prior beginning of the game I was ignoring, because I didn't feel like they were going to have too much of a presence in the game. Now they are going to be an issue because they are preventing me from dominating, so I need to deal with them. Now I still have an Axer, I have some weapon masters and so on and so forth, so I have the potential of clearing out the Ferox, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get it to a point where I can do it and get E-Borka over to that zone. I would have to run E-Borka flat out in order to get over to that zone and start dominating this turn. But I need to clear out the Ferox, and E-Borka's going to need to help. So I'm kind of thumbing through some activations in my head, and one of the things I do notice is that the Axer that is over in the far zone is actually outside of E-Borka's control range. So I need to fix that situation. So the first thing I do is activate my Fellcaller, and I have him go after, or engage at least, the two Ferox. Now, Ferox have the leap ability, so they will be able to disengage themselves by just sacrificing their movement and leaping, but at least with the engagement, I'm taking the advance move out of the equation. So the only place he can go from that location with the Fenblades engaging is 5 inches. I'm controlling those two individuals. Now, ideally, it would have been great if I could actually have killed one of them, and then I would only have to worry about one, and I was going to target the one closest to the zone so that he's further away from where I want to put E-Borka. But I wasn't that lucky. But like I said, I've at least prevented them from having the advance and leap. Now they just have the leap ability. So here I'm going through the Kriel Warriors. The Kriel Warriors actually have really served what they were supposed to do in this game. Maybe not to the best of my abilities, but I kind of view the unit as a giant stall unit, with them under the stone, and with the fact that they can't be knocked down because of the standard. You know, you're always having to hit them on their defense. Now it's defense troll, and which 12 isn't too terribly hard to hit, but because he's so apprehensive about killing me and getting knocked down, I'm just going to take that to my advantage and continue killing his Annihilators. So that activation really wasn't much of anything. It was just I was going through the motions so I can use my clock while thinking about what I'm going to do next. Chronicler activates, advances up, and puts down, here's Tragedy again. Stone activates and is going to put down Strength, because once I can get the Axers into position that they can go after, it can go after the Axer in the zone, can go after the Ferox, who have an increased Strength. Runebearer goes up and turns around and puts Harmonious on Berka because I want to be able to potentially use a spray to clear out those two Ferox that are lined up with each other. Clarifying with my opponent before I move that he is not engaged nor will cross the threshold for Rhadeim, and then also using the proxy base to make sure that he could fit between the space there. And then basically what I'm doing is I'm advancing him, but I'm advancing him with his back to the objective. Because I know the Ferox are going to be able to leap, I don't want to position him in such a way that if I'm positioning towards Tiberion, they're going to get my back arc. If I'm going to position them towards, Rhadeim, he's going to be in the back arc. Raheem's actually technically, or not technically, Rhadeim is partially in my front arc. But just trying to use the objective also as another model that's going to prevent him from getting in base-to-base range with all of his Ferox when they leap next turn. Going through the spray, I'm not expecting much out of it. It's up to weaken them a little bit, and then I actually get one of them, so I'm kind of content with that. And then I can activate the Axer, put him in reach range of the two Ferox, so that, and now that Berka's further over, he's in range, he can actually buy and boost and so forth. But try and go through and see if I can't kill out those two Ferox or with a Thresher, and worst case scenario, at least engage them so that they're not going to get that advance. A lot of times with Ferox, sometimes it's just about trying to engage them so that they're not going to get their full move and leap. So we get another one, but we don't get the last one. And my turn. Unfortunately, only thing between me and Tibbers is a Caber, and with proper play, he can easily remove that Caber. So I have to be concerned about the fact that I'm going to have Tibbers on my face next turn, and that's never a good situation. And here's the Axer just once again trying to go after Rhadeim.
Okay, my turn 4 here is very simple. I just have to clear a path for Tiberion or somebody to get to E-Borka. So everything is going to pretty much just be trying to do whatever I can to drop, to clear a line. So that means putting mobility up and popping my feet, which basically gives him the extra dice, dropping the lowest, and just going from there, just going for broke. Rhadeim did survive the round, mounted still, so he's still sitting up there on the hill. So with any luck, I can get the Ferox over and hopefully do some softening up before I commit the rest of my force. So the Cannoneer activates. Now that his feat is over, nobody else has stealth anymore. I boost the shot, which hits. I then boost the damage because, well, I just need damage to be dealt. So I boost on the other guy, who does not make it, and I think I end up, yeah, that should be about it. Good thing I just barely missed my guy and barely clip his. Lovely thing about larger bases. Kind of hard to hide from the blast damage. Activating Xerxis, he does mobility. It's a one heck of a good spell. He pops his feet. Anything that helps speed up the Skorne army is fantastic. Especially when you're running tight beasts. Now this game was played before Exodus came out, so we didn't know anything about the new bugs or anything else. So this list was kind of a brainstorm of the whole advanced maneuvers group. We all came together, we kind of brainstormed, threw out some ideas, and so that's what we came up with. Now Xerxes ended up dropping the, taking out the one Caber Tosser, clearing the space, and hopefully getting himself back far enough to where he could he'll be safe. Now this should be the Nihilators next, because they're all locked in combat, so it's not like they can go anywhere, do anything. Actually, I believe that was not the Nihilators, because I was running all against the Beast. So now activate the Ferox. They do their shift up forward, and then their jumps to get out of the way. Trying to inflict some damage on his light war beasts. Hopefully, trying to make it to where there's less he can transfer off. And of course, next to no damage is being dealt because the dice do not like people. Well, not today anyway. Well, they don't like me today. So luckily for me, the fire did take out the minion unit earlier, so that helped clear up some of that area. And now it's just a matter of trying to thin down the damage transfer potential he has. I guess that's really what it boils down to. That's what I'm really trying to get done here. Now the Nihilators activate, basically to get out of the way. So yeah, earlier must have been Rhadeim swinging on the Impaler. So now they're swinging because I'm hoping this is the last turn I have to endure. I'm hoping that Tiberion can achieve what I need him to do. So yeah, so now it's just basically whittling it down. I activate the beast handlers. They do their movie, condition, enrage, all the other happy stuff. I give eyeless sight to the Extoller. From the Extoller to the Willbreaker. The Willbreaker then gives Puppet Master to Tiberion. And I declare the charge. And I do get the charge to go all the way into E-Borka. And I just start swinging under the feet. Thank goodness for Puppet Master, because it allows me to reroll. And then that ends up transferring the damage off. And at this point in time, I just have to keep on buying swings until I just kill him off, because I don't think he can transfer enough to the. I don't think he can transfer enough off to the other beast. Can't remember if he's full or not, but I know he can't transfer too much off to him. So, and of course the damage rolls were just phenomenal under this feat. And that was game. Tiberion for the win.